What is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And so this is going to be my follow-up video to the my talking about the whole Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame video that I did. This is going to be sort of a rant, but I first and foremost just want to state for the record. These 5 individuals that got nominated for the Hall of Fame class of 2026, all of them are well deserving to get in. I want to make this very clear. Each one of these individuals, Drew Brees, Roger Craig, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Kuechly, and as well as Adam Vinatieri, are well deserving to get in the Hall of Fame. No shade at them. Now, I know this video might have to depict some people might not being able to get in on here, but that's not the point of this. The point of is the system itself. All these guys that are potential Hall of Famers are eventually, well, hopefully, will get in. That's always the thing. Not everybody is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's just the reality, but certain guys deserve to be first ballot Hall of Famers for a reason. That's what I just want to say right now. So with that being said, I have to, kind of get into this because, again, all these guys are great athletes, great champions, great football players, all deserving to get in the Hall of Fame. But I gotta go at this right now because also I was watching a video. Again, we're about an hour and a half away from the Super Bowl at the time of this recording, so this is just kind of getting my football into it because the game's about to start not too long from now. But here's the thing, guys. I was watching a video that Rich Eisen did on his show, and he talked about it because he made the announcements for this, and he talked about how, he found out about 20 minutes before the announcement of the NFL Honor Show because, obviously him being the one who announces it, he's got to know ahead of time, right? So, but they don't actually give him the list until about 20 minutes before he's about to go out there and, share the world who's the Hall of Famers because they want to keep everything tight, And what he brought up was the fact that there's only 5. Only 5 after all this, squaggle and, this whole thing about Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, Robert Kraft not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, whatever. This whole thing that was going on, and he brought up, was like, there's only 5, now the NFL Hall of Fame, I believe, is allowed to have up to 7 Hall of Famers, like, depending on the senior candidates and stuff like that. Now, I know the anniversary class that they did not too long ago, that one, had a bunch of Hall of Famers, which, again, I just don't understand why they just don't do that regularly. I just don't understand why can't we, have, 10 Hall of Famers each year, because the Hall of Fame was created in 1963. That's when the building was, officially opened, right? I don't understand why they just don't have more than 5, because 5 is, supposed to be, I think, the normal amount, but they can have up to 7 usually for a lot of the senior candidates. So I just don't understand why we just don't have more per year. Now, one of the things that was said from one of the voters, and we talked about this, is that, they don't want to, they don't want to prevent other senior candidates that might not get into the finalist list. They might never get in again, so we're going to vote for these people instead of other potential modern day candidates. That was one of the things that was stated by one of the voters. And the thing that really annoyed me about that was, well, then that means you're voting based on favoritism and not necessarily who are the best people to get elected into the Hall of Fame. That's kind of how I depicted that. I'm not saying that line of thinking isn't necessarily wrong, but at the same time, you're doing a disservice to the other people that are now up for the Hall of Fame, like first ballot candidates, for example. You're doing a disservice to them. Because it's not fair to them. It's like, well, that's not our fault. Why can't, we're first ballots. This is how I think it's so rigged. Now, the voting system is you can only vote for 3. Which, again, I just think is stupid. And I've said this before. This is not new. Like, for people that are figuring this out now, this is not new. The Hall of Fame has always been rigged this way. It's always been rigged. There's so many head coaches that never have been first ballots. Like I said, in the modern day NFL, since the Super Bowl era, there's only been 3 head coaches that got in on their first ballot. Think about it, 3. 3 out of all the coaches from the Super Bowl era, there's only been 3 that got in on their first ballot. Vince Lombardi was not one of them. Bill Walsh was not one of them. These are people that should have been first ballot head coaches, just like Bill Belichick, but nobody talks about that. That's one of the things that I wish the media would bring up more, is the fact that this has been rigged for a long time. This is not something new just because Bill Belichick didn't get in. Okay, this is something that's been going on for a long time. So this is the thing. One of the, we talked about this already. One of the arguments that one of the voters made was that Bill Belichick, they didn't vote for Bill Belichick because they only had 3 choices that they could vote for. And they felt that these people wouldn't get in the room again if they didn't vote for them. Now, they voted for Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and L.C. Greenwood. Now, here's the thing about this. Only one of those 3 actually made it into the Hall of Fame. So this whole supposed narrative, which I do think this narrative, there were some voters that did believe this, but I think this is a minute. I think this is a minute thing that happened. Like, I don't think this is the main reason why they went this way. I still believe it was 100% Spygate. But if you want to spread that as your narrative, the fact that all 3 of them didn't make it in tells me that's bullshit. That only one got in, one of the 3, and L.C. Greenwood, L.C. Greenwood was part of the Steel Curtain. I already actually thought he was in the Hall of Fame before, honestly. But I didn't even realize he wasn't in the Hall of Fame. This is the problem I have. Is now they're already saying that they might be changing the voting. My whole thing to that is the voting should have been changed a long time ago, because the system is already screwed for head coaches to get in. It's already screwed for head coaches to get in, because now we're going to have to wait another year for Mike Holmgren to get in, who in my opinion is a better coach than Bill Cowher. And Bill Cowher's already in. Bill Cowher is not as good as Mike Holmgren. Yes, he beat him in the Super Bowl, right? And that's the thing. Like, I think Bill Cowher got in because he beat Mike Holmgren in the Super Bowl. Even though Mike Holmgren won a Super Bowl, went to two others, which Bill Cowher only went to two in total. Okay. Played with two different organizations, revived both those organizations. Like, I don't understand how Mike Holmgren is still not in. Bill Cowher got in before him. That I don't understand the logical thinking of why Cowher is in and Holmgren isn't. I still don't understand it. You know, and so now Mike Holmgren's going to have to wait another year because Bill Belichick didn't get in, because Bill Belichick is most likely going to get in next year after this whole outcry. I'd be shocked if he doesn't get in next year. But that's the thing. Like, the system, the whole voting system, yes, they need to change that. But what they really need to change is how many people get in. That's really what they need to change, because five getting in is fucking ridiculous. Only 5. And I know this, and again, no shade at these guys that got in, but because all of them were deserving of getting in the Hall of Fame, and all of them, obviously some of these guys, you could argue shouldn't have been a first ballot. But Adam Vinatieri getting in before Bill Belichick, to me, is crazy. I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know if this is Bill. I don't know if this is like Adam Vinatieri's first chance to get in or not. Okay, so Adam Vinatieri, actually, upon looking at this, Adam Vinatieri actually did get in on his second. So this is his second year of eligibility. So the two people they got in, Drew Brees got in on his first. Luke Kuechly got in to do his first. Now, Luke Kuechly retired at 29. He retired the same year Jim Brown retired. He retired very early, but he obviously had a huge impactful career on the defense, which is why he got in still. Definitely, I think, deserved it. But again, it goes into this whole narrative of same with Larry Fitzgerald. I don't. Let me just make sure. Okay, so Larry Fitzgerald also got in on his first ballot. So 3 of the 5 class of 2026 got in on their first ballot. Larry Fitzgerald got in their first. Drew Brees got in his first. Luke Kuechly got in on his first. That's insane. That's insane to think about, considering you do have a lot of people that are sitting there as finalists that have been waiting for a while. And again, Adam Vinatieri waited a year, but then got in. And again, I know Adam Vinatieri, is really responsible for the first 3 Super Bowls with the winning field goals in the first 2, and then got the field goal in the 4th quarter, but not at the end of regulation. But the fact that he got in before Bill Belichick is insane. And someone was bringing this up to me. Somebody brought this up to me, that if they're punishing Bill Belichick for Spygate, shouldn't they then punish Tom Brady for Deflategate? Because Deflategate, whether people want to believe it or not, whether Brady had any influence or not is relevant, because he still did get suspended for 4 games. He got suspended for 4 games. He appealed it, and then eventually, it got to the point where he could have appealed it to the U.S. Supreme Court, but ultimately didn't do that. and served the 4-game suspension. So by that logic, then according to the law of the NFL, then Brady was guilty. So I guess Brady needs to serve a 1 year, not being allowed to get in on his first ballot thing too, right? But here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. They're not going to do that. You know damn well they're not going to do that. Now, again, the rules are most likely going to be changed next year, though probably not as much as people would like them to be changed. But you know damn well they're not going to do that for Tom Brady. So if you're not going to do that with Tom Brady, why are you doing that with Bill Belichick? And again, this is the difference between head coaches and players. Head coaches are treated differently than players are because they're bound into the same category as players are, which I don't agree with. I don't think coaches should be bound into the same category as football players. NFL head coaches should not be bound in the same category as them. You should be allowed to elect more head coaches into the Hall of Fame just as much as the players. For every 7 players, there should be 3 coaches getting in. Coaches, GMs, contributors, whatever. Though obviously I think the GMs and the contributors should be all lumped in the same thing with the head coaches. But I think they should all be lumped into a separate category from the senior candidates, from the players, because this is the problem. This is a problem that has been going on for decades. Before I was even alive, this has been going on. Okay? The Hall of Fame, they are biased towards voting for coaches versus a player. Players are always going to be favored in the voting process over coaches. This is why Brady will get in on his first ballot. And this is why someone like Bill Belichick will not get in on his first ballot, because this has been the mindset of voters for decades. Again, 3 head coaches since the Super Bowl era have gotten in. Okay, since only 3 have gotten in on their first ballot. All the others had to wait a year or more. Okay? There is obviously a bias towards NFL head coaches getting in the Hall of Fame over players. The voters prefer the players over the coaches. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's bad when you get into situations where coaches absolutely deserve to get in and then they are not put in on their first ballots because, they want to prioritize the players. And this is why so many coaches don't get in. This is why Mike Holmgren has waited so long to get in. Because they view him as second tier. If you're viewed as a second tier head coach, you have to wait even longer. If you are a first tier head coach like Bill Belichick, you're not going to get in on your first ballot, but you're not going to have to wait that long. But you'll still have to, wait a year or two. That this is just how it's been. The same thing with Bill Parcells. I think Bill Parcells had to wait 2 years after being eligible. Because he was considered a great head coach, but not worthy enough to be a first ballot. Because, again, the players are prioritized more over the head coaches. This has been a system that's been rigged for years and decades, before you, the viewer, probably was even alive. Okay? You just got to look at the research. Look at the research of how this has been going on for years. People are starting to finally realize it because of Bill Belichick not getting in. And that's the only positive thing about this, is that with Bill Belichick not getting in on his first ballot, maybe more changes, good changes, will come of this. Because even when Terrell Owens called out the rigged Hall of Fame voting process, people just thought T.O. was just being T.O. the player again. on the field, causing distractions. Now, again, I like T.O. He's one of the best to ever do it. But I think there were a lot of situations that he could have done better. The whole thing with the Eagles was a disaster, unfortunately. And I do think, looking back at it now, I think it was more of Donovan McNabb to why it was a problem, which a lot of people didn't see at the time. Most people just took it out on Terrell Owens, but because Donovan was the quarterback, a lot of people didn't see it at the time. But Donovan was definitely, and there are other teammates that have come out and have said it. Deshaun Jackson has talked about it as well, that Donovan was very, very low-key ego, about, being the guy, in Philadelphia. Like, he wanted to be the poster guy, essentially. He didn't want anybody else. He didn't want anyone else to have the spotlight over him. And most players have come and talked about it now. Terrell Owens talked about it at the time. Terrell Owens talked about it at the time, but no one believed it. Because that was when Donovan was still in the prime of his game. But more people have talked about it now. So, that's the thing. Terrell Owens is great. One of the greatest receivers of all time. Should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion. The problem with the receiving position is that and again, the receiving position is hard for people to go into because there are so many wide receivers that are gunning for the Hall of Fame every year. Which is why it has taken so long for guys to get in. Chris Carter, it took like 10. I think Andre Reed, it took 8. Like Lynn Swann, it took like 14. I think I'm remembering correctly. Wide receivers is kind of and it's kind of wild too. But again, I'm surprised like someone like Larry Fitzgerald got in on his first ballot. So it seems like they are kind of changing that when it comes to the wide receiver, because I know they took a lot of heat for wide receivers not getting in right away. But still, man, it's just really unfortunate. I'd like to know what you guys think, and what do you guys think they're going to do? This is my little thoughts on it. Make sure to comment, rate, if you like this video, my videos, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell for the latest contents. Thank you. And that is about it, guys. I am the SS Ultimate Goku, and I'm out of here. Peace. Also, make sure, besides my YouTube channel, to follow me on the Instagram, the Twitch, and I do have a Discord link in the description where we discuss a lot of various topics, including this one here. And now I'm out. Peace.